Oof.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to present, on behalf of Poets of the East, two charming colleagues. I'm going to go with ladies first. The lovely, the talented, the charming Lucilla Trapazzo, and my dear brother, Mircea Duta. Welcome to you both. I'm so happy that you're here. Mircea, my brother, please lead off in your interview.
Good afternoon, good evening, actually, in America, everybody. Thank you very much for this new edition of Poets of the East. It is a real pleasure and honor to welcome here two exceptional poets, and I'm very happy that Rick managed to put together this new edition in spite of all the technical problems which sometimes appear. Thanks God they don't appear always. And I'm also happy and honored to welcome here Lucilla Trapazzo. I dare say one of the most original and profound voices of the contemporary Italian, Swiss, and European poetry, and in the level and within the category she belongs to, I am not afraid to claim also within the world poetry. What I really appreciate at Lucilla is her metaphoric disponibility, is the way she is able to work with words, with expressions, with sentences, and the way she is able to use the very complex rules of the Italian language. She writing in Italian in order to create metaphors. Because let us be true, let us be sincere. Usually there are some recipes independent on the languages, or let's say independent on the language category, on the language groups. Majority of the poets belonging to, let's say, Romanic language groups use some recipes, adapting them to the specificity of the French, Italian, Spanish, or Romanian language. And yes, they are original. We can't pretend they imitate or they call someone else. They are original. They do create metaphors. Lucilla goes further. Lucilla is able to adapt the respective structure to new kinds of metaphors in each poetry, in each poem. That means if, let's say, the second conditional has a certain correspondence of times in the phrase, she takes advantage in order to put some connections between what is happening within that phrase, so that this connection or this mutual influence of the two, both of the sentences, creates an original sense, an original semantic dimension, an original coloristic dimension. Therefore, her poems are always full, are always complex, and contain a lot of original metaphors, original tropes, style figures, which ask for readers to think about and stimulate a real intellectual pleasure within us to discover them, to discover the sense of the respective metaphor. For me, the poetry of Lucilla Trapazzo is a real challenge, is a continuous challenge, and I know very well that in the moment I'm going to read another text by her, there will be a provocation, there will be a challenge, there will be a very pleasant intellectual fight, ending into a mutual victory of the author and of the reader, because the first one managed to convince the second one concerning the quality and the round form of the poem, and the second one managed, if he or she managed, to discover, to unload the mystery of the charming mystery of this. Therefore, I think it is a victory for both the author and poets of the East that Lucilla Trapazzo is today our guest. Lucilla, welcome.
Hi. I don't know what to say. After such a deep and wonderful introduction, it feels almost difficult to talk. I am really, no, I'm not joking. I am extremely moved by all the words that you said about my poetry. Maybe even, you know, when you write, you're doing something inside of yourself, and then it comes out, it reaches the others, and then it becomes something by itself. And what you said about my poetry is making me see my poetry, and I almost want to meet this poet. It's thank you. It's very beautiful, very thoughtful and deep what you said. I am really touched, and it's beautiful to be here with two of the people that and it's not just, I'm not being polite, two of the people in the world of poetry that I met in the last couple of years that I really love and appreciate for the voices, for their love for poetry, for the passion they have in bridging cultures, in and the understanding and open heart in every sense, artistically and human. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you for being here, Lucilla. And I think that the most normal, the most expected following of your mentions, and in a parenthesis, I would like to say that actually you, being also a very sensitive and attentive literary critic and analyst, and combining this with this metaphorical disponibility of yours, your literary critic is also artistic. You're using metaphors, you're using tropes, artistic figures, also when expressing something, telling something you tell about a poet, something you tell about her or his creation. And I end the parenthesis now, I'm closing the parenthesis now. I think that after this proof of metaphorical literary critics, the most usual, the most normal following will be reading some of your poems. And in order to be able to make the comparison between the original and the translation, by the way, as far as I know, you are translating yourself a lot of your poems. I don't know whether all of them, but it is very interesting to find out, to compare. Of course, there is nothing like a perfect translation. It is very interesting the way you discover that specificity of the English language, of course, different of the ones of the Italian language, which manage to put into value your poems. Therefore, there are elements, stylistical, semantical, cognoscible, which are present in your English translations, which are not present in the Italian originals. And of course, Italian elements in the Italian originals, which of course are intraducible, are impossible to translate into English. Therefore, I suggest that the text you are going to read to be in both variants, so that the ones knowing both languages to be able to compare also not only your poetical art, but also your translator's art.
Perfect. I will read then a poem that exactly, there is one part in the English translation, and I will say it now, so that is different from the Italian. It's a poem that I wrote in the last weeks, looking at the images we are having from the TV. And maybe no, I will tell you the part which differs later, and I will explain why. Da qualche parte, ai confini del regno, si intrecciano di nuovo brandelli dissonanti, traiettorie profane, linee curve che stracciano il rosso dei papaveri, mentre sui cancelli chiusi inciampa il sogno luminoso di una sola terra. Brucia l'Europa sui balconi, brucia sbattuta contro i muri, sulle reti vite, vestiti e scogli appesi ad asciugare, e questo eterno andare e ritornare di sibili, di orrori, di agonie, oh pietà. Infilo la mattina nello zaino, nel silenzio perdiamo le persone, i loro nomi urlano nell'erba, ognuno figlio di una madre orfana, ma da qui, dal volo di un uccello, è ancora casa questo mondo, primavera, senza lingue, senza più confini, e quanto azzurro è ancora il cielo. Portiamo tutti un sasso sulla prima vertebra. And now, the English version. Somewhere at the edge of the kingdom, dissonant shreds intertwine again, profane trajectories, curved lines that tear puppies of blood, while the bright dream of a single home stumbles on the closed gates. Europe burns on the balconies, it burns, slammed against the walls. On the barbed wire, lives, clothes, and rocks are hung out to dry, and this eternal coming and going of hisses, of horrors, of agonies, oh mercy. I put the morning in my backpack. In the silence we lose people, their names scream in the grass, each one son of an orphan mother. But from here, from this bird flight view, this world is still home, spring, without languages, without borders, and how blue the sky still is. We all carry a stone on the first vertebrae. I want to underline here the part where I talk about the puppies. In Italian, I don't use the word blood. I use the word red. So when I say curved line that tear off the red of the puppies, in Italian, if I would use il sangue, the blood of the puppies, it would not be the same. It would feel inauthentic. I don't know. It would feel like you want to do more. You want to scream. You want, and so I use the red of the puppies, which is a metaphor, of course, and it, in my opinion, in my language, gets stronger. Exactly the contrary, it appears in English. If I use that tear, the red of the puppies, it feels like wine with water. I don't know. The English language needs stronger metaphors, needs stronger words. And so I use for the English that tear puppies of blood. It is true, I change a lot my poems when, not a lot, I change my poems when I translate them. They are my poems and I can dare to do more. Whenever I translate the works of other people, I'm much more careful. I always ask 2 or 3 times, may I do this? There is always the fear that you use too much of yourself while you are translating. So, but with my own poems, I can do whatever I want. I can destroy them, reconstruct them whenever I'm translating them. And something else, I get carried by the rhythm and by the sound. And while translating them in English, everything becomes, I mean, I need to change them because the rhythm of the English language is different. Italian language is more like a song, is very soft. English is, with all the consonant, is it's more jazzy. And so also the words I use, are different, have different kinds of sound and hues, even hues of colors in English than in Italian. For example, there is a very short one that talks about my difficulties sometimes about writing poems, and it's a bit different in English and in Italian. Una mattina sono andate via prima le parole, salutandomi festose dall'oblò, a seguire, rotolando le immagini, le idee e la loro percezione. È rimasto un po' più a lungo il sentire primigenio. One morning, words left first, greeting me joyful from the porthole. Following, images rolled away, and then ideas, opinions, and beliefs. Their comprehension alone remained a little longer, the primal feeling. And also here, I use more words and I changed perception with comprehension. I feel that there is the need sometimes in the English language to change, simply that, yeah.
It's a very interesting comment, and thank you very much for it. Actually, it was a small lesson in traductology and in the techniques of translation. Actually, as Rick knows very well, myself, writing in Czech, which is not my mother tongue, I never translate myself into Romanian, just because I am, or actually in any other language, because I am afraid just of what you were telling before. I mean, I am afraid of trying to change the original according to the translation. I am trying of being subjective. I'm trying of not being as cold-brained as I should be in the role of a translator. And I remember, for instance, when translating some of Rick's poems, so rich in games of words, in allusions, in connotations, in which it is true that English language helps him, and especially the American English helps him very much, as almost each English word has a lot of meanings, not one or two as it happens in the Romanic languages. Each English word has a lot of meanings, which makes it almost individually by itself a metaphor. And combining two English words, it's actually a potential millions of metaphors coming from here. And when knowing how to play with games, as Rick knows so well in his poems, then it is a real regale for the translator, but in the same time, a big challenge. So I prefer this kind of challenge in translating someone else's very difficult text, challenging text, provocative text, instead of translating myself, because I am in danger of changing my own original, because I have the meaning that the result, the translation, it's better than what the original used to be. By the way, Lucilla, if you are interested, and I'm making this public, I would be very interested in inviting you to write an article on this thematic. That means differences in translation from Italian into English when you translate yourself for a Romanian specialized, in English, of course, for a Romanian specialized review called Fitralit, That means it's in a review about literary translations. So if you accept, it would be a great honor and
Yes.
pleasure for us.
I would love it. I would love it. Then in private, we will talk about the timing. I would love it. I love talking about translations.
Thanks a lot. So let's hear some other, please, Rick. Sorry.
Let me make one little request when we're talking about translation. You're both so charming, and to say I adore you both is really to just not even be near it. But let me make one little suggestion to you both. Lucilla, can I ask you to aim your camera up a little bit? Because I want to see the crown aura that you have around you. You're so lovely. The aura alone just makes the picture. And my brother, Mircea, sir, you are so strongly lit from your left side that you're almost completely you're dark. So if I may suggest, you move to your right a little bit and turn so that there's a little more light on your face, because right now you have been in the dark, and that's a shame, because you speak so eloquently, and I want to see you a little more lit. Okay.
Oh,
That's a little better. That's a little better.
Okay, I'm good. I think. Oh, I'm so emotion. You know, the emotion determines me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, sir. I will try to correct this.
It's okay. Now, another way of doing it is to have a light. If you have a spare light aimed up at the roof, and you get lit from the bounce, it really does amazing things. If you want to take a minute and do that, that'd be great.
I will.
I want to see you both. I adore you both so much. Much better. I see you so much better now. Can I ask one more thing? The painting behind you, is that yours?
Well,
No, Mircea? I mean,
no.
Lucilla? The painting beside you, the Pieta,
Yes.
is that yours?
Yes, I go out of the frame for 1 second.
Sure. No, that's
my own painting.
that doesn't help, Mircea. I need a light aimed up at the roof, not from the roof, because now your face is completely in the dark. Turn that ceiling light off. That doesn't help.
Okay.
Is there no lower lamp you might use?
Do you have a dish lamp, Mircea?
No, unfortunately not.
All
I
right,
don't.
turn off the roof light, and you can open your curtains, but just turn your seat a little bit if you can.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you. I'm working on a video project, and it's made me so much more conscious of seeing my lovely patrons. I used to make it a virtue to say, well, however they appear, that's how they appear. They're in their natural environment. That's wonderful. But having done a little more video producing lately, I've been a little more conscious of getting them a little better lit. Now, if you turn to your right a little bit, Mircea, and then open the curtains a little bit more, we have some light falling on your face.
So it's better. You get lit from the computer, from the tablet now. So we see you more.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Okay. I'm sorry for a little technical interruption.
Would you like me to move myself somehow?
Turn to your right a little bit so that some of that light from the curtain on your left will light your face a little better. That's a little better. That's a little better. Sure, that's better. I can actually see a little bit more of your face. Wonderful.
Okay. I apologize.
Oh, don't worry about it.
And the problems for each of us are the glasses.
Well, as a glasses wearer myself, I can't criticize that.
No, I cannot. I'm sorry. I usually can work without the glasses, but not today. My eyes are hurting a lot. So I'm so sorry that you see me. You don't see one of my eye. I'm sorry, Rick. I don't know what to do.
That's okay. I get to see your soul. That alone is enough. Okay. I apologize for the technical interruption. Ladies and gentlemen, let's return to part 2 of Lucilla Trapazzo and my brother, Mircea Duta. Please continue.
Thank you very much for making those precisions, to both of you. And I think that mentions both of you added concerning translation and the challenge that translation is asking from the one executing this very sensitive operation are really really big. Okay, I think it was today a real discussion about translation theory, and still a little poetry, still little poems from the so beautiful ones Lucilla prepared for today. So I suggest, if everybody agrees, I suggest that Lucilla would continue with some of her poems, and if she agrees and she feels like, also with some explanations containing the translations she did to her own poems. Lucilla, the floor is yours.
I was muted. So the next poem I would like to read for you is a poem. Okay, I will read and then I will talk about it. Quando crollò il cielo, restò fermo nell'istante il gesto, e fu tutto l'improvviso e vasto mormorio del mondo, di alberi fruscianti, di panchine strusciate con le unghie, di barattoli di sugo tintinnanti, di lamiere arrugginite, di sale e zucchero, versati in perfetta disarmonica assonanza. Oh, l'istante fu magnifico, appuntato sul fondale con gli spilli, tu e io a guardarlo dalle rive opposte, cercando di capire senso e geometrie, promesse urlate nei citofoni e poi lasciate al vento. C'è latenza nei segnali, nelle voci, arriva il suono, sempre dopo il lampo. Io resto ad ascoltarne l'eco. When the sky fell down, the gesture remained fixed in a moment. All around instead, it was the sudden and vast murmur of the world, of rustling trees and benches scrubbed with naked nails, the sizzling of jars of saws, the tinkling of rusty metal panes, of salt and sugar poured in perfect disharmonic assonance. The instant was magnificent, pinned to the backdrop with pins. You and I, looking at it from the opposite shores, trying to understand sense and geometries of promises shouted in the intercoms, and then left to the wind. There is latency in the signals, in the voices. The sound always arrives after the spark. I stay, listening to its echo. So the poem is also about, you know, somehow it's not completely related to the war, but it's related to the way I felt it. And here, if we want to talk about the difference in the translation, when I write, I think every artist has this, but I discovered it's not very long ago, a few years ago, that I have what is called synesthesia, meaning that when I hear a word, I see images and I hear sounds and sometimes even smells. And so for me, it's very important the way I put the words together. They need to fit, because for me, it's not only the sound and it's not only the meaning of the word. Sometimes people ask me, why did you say that? And I said, there is not a real meaning sometimes because I put two specific words together, but it's the way they feel together for me, for my own synesthesia, because every person has a different kind of synesthesia. But in this poem, it's very important to see, for example, in the moment when I say il mormorio del mondo, alberi fruscianti, panchine strusciate con le unghie. In Italian, it has a certain sound. In English, I had to find a sound that was giving a kind of this onomatopoeic kind of sound that reflects the English language, not the Italian, because in the Italian, everything is more kind of windy. The words that I use in English are stronger, rustling trees, benches scrubbed with naked nails, sizzling of jars, tinkling of rusty metal. It's much stronger, much harder. So I had to find in English words that made sense to me, to my own synesthesia, and that were, of course, then conveying the meaning also. So yeah, this is another example.
Actually, it's if I am allowed to raise this question, because actually I am asking this to all the translators, and now I'm addressing mainly the translator Lucilla Trapazzo more than the poet Lucilla Trapazzo, but actually it's not possible to separate them because they are one and only person. Okay, alliteration, the way the sound, the way the expression gives a sound, sounds in the final language is more important for you than the meaning. I mean, do you prefer translating, in quotes, the alliteration, the sound effect, rather than the meaning? Are there situations when you feel this is more important that, again, quotes, what the poet wanted to say, end of quotes?
It depends on the poems. It depends on the poems, it depends on the meaning, and it depends on the people I'm translating. Because there are people who, I remember once I was translating the poem into Italian of a friend of mine from Spain, and it was very tough in Spanish. In Italian, the same kind of toughness would not work. It would be felt strange, it would be felt too much. And so I tried to soften it a little bit. She told me, no, I don't want that. And so I re-toughened it, but she wanted that. And so that was the correct way of doing it. So it depends also if the message it's important, it's needed, then I do not care so much about the sound. I try, but I don't care so much. But if I can save both the sound, the rhythm, the alliteration, the consonation, everything, if I can, or rebuild a new one by maintaining the meaning, I do. I try. I normally tend to do that. But that's, and it's not only a question of maintaining the sound, because each language has its own sound, its own rhythm. So it needs to change. It cannot be the same kind of alliteration. It needs to be an alliteration that it's typical of that language. So it can be even completely different from the alliteration from the one like in this poem that you had originally. But that in that language, if it works. But if I can go further about translation, for me, there is one part that, of course, by translating my poems, it doesn't apply. But when I translate the poems of other people, there is something very important for me, that it's the empathy. I need to make the person who is in front of me, it's something that I'm an actor, so I used to do the same while acting, entering a character. You use your mirror neurons to understand the other. There is an otherness. There is someone who is not me. And by trying to get close to understand this person is not anymore another. It becomes, I feel this person. And somehow this person becomes part of me and I become part of this person. And this is what I try to do. What happens in translation? Otherwise, you make a cold translation. If you don't use that part, if you don't use the empathy, the translation stays cold. Maybe it's a perfect translation, but it's not the same.
Yes, this is very true. And it is very important that the original poet, if you're not translating yourself, of course, that the original poet agrees and empathizes with the translation you are doing, and it may sound strange, it may sound paradoxally, even if he or she doesn't even speak the final language, because I had this kind of problems. I mean, I translated an excellent poet from Czech into Romanian, and one of the best contemporary Czech contemporary Czech ever, one of the best contemporary Czech poets, and he just told me, okay, this is this rhythm in I don't understand the word from your translation, but there is something that does not sound like this, and he attentioned me towards Japanese or Chinese sounding expression that independently of what was meaning, it was important that this Japanese or Chinese accent like expression should sound the same also in Romanian. So I feel very well, I know very good this very well this feeling, and I'm happy that you came and explained it here. So if we still have time, let's continue with other poems.
Okay, I want to read now. Normally I write very little love poems, but last year it was Dante Alighieri's 700 years of his death, and there were everywhere in Italy celebrations. I was asked to prepare a short performance. I decided to do a performance with some love letters, short poems that I call love letters, about Francesca da Rimini, one of the characters of Dante who is in the Inferno. Francesca got killed by her husband together with Paolo. For whoever doesn't know the story, I think most of the people know the story of Francesca and Paolo. Paolo was her brother-in-law. They were reading Lancelot and story, and they fell in love. And I imagined Francesca, the person, the character, the woman, which, by the way, is the most cardinal figure in Dante's poetry. All the women in Dante's poetry are somehow ethereal. Francesca is the only real woman, the only woman made of flesh and blood. And so I imagine her writing these letters to Paolo. And, you know, they're short poems, love poems, talking about everyday moments and talking about the first time they saw each other, when the first kiss, and then the love, and then the fear. So I want to read you two of them, the two short ones, the one that is the prologue, and then the one that is beyond the Acheron at the end, while they are dead. So they're very short. Prologo. Trafetti d'azzurro e di nuvole, ballammo sul soffitto. Frattura di sale la strada. Piange il multiverso in qualche dove la fine di una stella e la mia voce implode. Prologue. Pierced by blue and clouds, we dance on the ceiling. Fractures of salt was the road. Somewhere tonight, the multiverse weeps the end of a star, and my voice implodes. Now, the last one. Oltre l'Acheronte, non peccammo quando ci scoprimmo essenza e paradosso nello specchio. Eppure, senza colpe, condannati siamo sull'orlo tormentato dell'attesa, sospesi tra la notte e il sole, esclusi, non risolti. E sempre siamo fiume in piena, carne densa ancora, siamo nomi e anelli e atomi di luce. Beyond the Acheron. It was not a sin when we found each other, essence and paradox, in the mirror. And yet, without fault, condemned we are on the tormented ridge of looming, suspended between night and sun, excluded, not resolved. And still, we are river flooding. We are still flesh, dense. We are names and rings and atoms of lights.
Thank you very much.
These are two short poems, very, very, very dear to me.
You know, yes, real wonderful ones. Actually, partially I knew them, but most of them are very new, I guess. You wrote them during the last 2 weeks, because a lot there was a good part of them I didn't know. Maybe I would allow myself a remark concerning. I don't know whether it's true or not, so I would kindly ask you to confirm, or by contrary, to contradict me if I'm not right. And I think it's a very good thing to do from the part of translator. In English, one feels, or at least I feel, the need of enumerations. Sometimes the meaning, it's building itself more and more, it's constructing over and over with the help of enumerations, which give a very good effect, and which in Italian or French would sound almost pleonastically. I feel that you know very well where to put that boundary, that frontier between using synonyms or relative synonyms, and in order to be more expressive and more explicative, and when to stop it in order not to become pleonastic. It is something, I repeat, in French or in Italian, it wouldn't go, because because French and Italian are much richer in individual significations for words, while English, as I was meaning that at the beginning of our interventions, English is much richer in senses belonging to the same word, and in its its capacity of combining those senses in infinite metaphoric possibilities and opportunities, only from the way those two words are combined. What do you think, Rick, especially as you are such a great specialist in games of words and in expressing with 3 words 3 millions of things, which makes all your translators very happy?
I am so much enjoying this conversation. As a functioning monolingualist, I have nothing but great appreciation for you two who can move with facility between languages. And I have to say that the thing that has impressed me so much in your discussion is understanding the delicate nuance that comes from trying to do that mighty effort of taking the delicate flower of a poem and transposing it in another language, and how you have to take cognizance of both the strengths and the limitations of this other language, and how I celebrate the fact that those who are fortunate enough to have you two as translators, those are lucky souls, because you clearly take such care to make sure that it's not just a translation, but it carries the subtlety, it carries the nuance of that language, and then transposes it in a new set of symbols. I'm just so touched by the delicacy of your remarks, and well, what can I say? I just celebrate the two of you so tremendously. Let me set a bonfire somewhere.
Well, this is a very good idea, I guess. And if Lucilla agrees, and I hope she agrees, I would kindly and more ask, plea to Rick if he would like to read that poem he wrote about a hospital. I know it's not the happiest poem ever, but it is so rich and so complex and so full of games of words that it is a stimulation for every translator. It's going to hear us now. So please, Rick, would you make us the favor of reading it?
That's a long piece, my brother. Okay, and not quite in the tone of what we've been talking about, but let me quickly see if I can find it quickly. I'll be right back. You two make good use of your time. God bless you both.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Rick. I mean, within Rick's creation, which I admire a lot, this was the most difficult and in the same time, the most charming poem to translate. I repeat, it is not for sure, it is not a happy poem. It is about the atmosphere in a hospital, but the metaphors are built with such a fineness, with such a delicacy, and in the same time with such a perfect perfect knowledge of the word and of the combination of those words in this very spatial language, which is English, and especially that way of speaking English in where Rick is living, that each time I have the possibility, I kindly ask him to offer us this real lesson of metaphoricity in English language.
Well, I will. I can only say, since I love you both so much, that's the only reason I'm doing this, because it's not my choice. And therefore, I offer you this. I have to preface this by saying I had heart surgery, and I was very concerned, not so much about my mortality, that I know is in other hands than mine, even beside the surgeons. But the thing that concerned me most was that they had told me, besides the fact they were going to stop my heart a couple times, they also said they were going to be removing some nerves for me able to signal my heart. And I thought, oh my God, as a poet, do not remove my poetic sense. Don't make my heart less sensitive. Please, God, grant me that. Life, death, I don't care, but I must stay a poet. And I knew I wouldn't be happy until I knew I crafted my first poem after the surgery. And now you know. In my head and in my hospital bed. Still, I'm yet processing my recent nascent pale pastel palette parade through labs and life in surgical masks, aghast in achingly new hospital halls, contending each sterile stall, the viral spiraling path of life's laugh, wrestling patients across those looming dangerous gaps, past pale, deathly stated plates, the fluids received in due grace. Hallway ceilings fleeting fly past upturned eye and face searching each mask. Appraise the passing stainless machine that beeping buzz and register their cargo life tracking smudge. Digital carts carrying heart's vital signals, darts and tubes flowing in arms so bruised as they dare to snare buoying life's arcing, aching joy, amidst the charging, carving robot knives, regaling in microscopic live detail the unfurling flight of fibrous life. Hearing my body's story playing in real time across myriad metallic sentinels, gleaming, shrieking screens of dart-daring, data-bearing scientific angels, upholding their slip-dripping bags like flags unfurled, tied like Ulysses past the fatal rock shocks. Their chemical potions, potent and pure, luring stealthy health's cure to lead the body back from the daring attack. Medical magicians conjuring their scientific techno miracles and schemas themes through the dreaming fog, slowly clearing, loved ones dear appearing. Can they push back the causing clacking claws and repair the desperate danger's leering snare? Dreamed that they might vanquish and aid, that they might match and catch the fraying, saying, my life's crusade, we're flying on faulty flapping wings, flight and sing a better song, too strong. Somehow, can they conjure an anchor, repair and earn my burning heartful thanks for all their care? Recording these miles of bleats and beeps, pulses and cables, but facting track the blood's buzz deluxe blood. Somehow carefully steps crept, always kept at bay. What did he say? When even the tiniest misunderstanding demands a danger dared repeat the seat. My mind slowly awake, no feeling there, smooth white ceiling share, no grip, eyes on blurring whirl, ping, 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 ping. Vertigious twirl, singing, swing. The gleaming portable machines record the flight of life's light bird, shaking loose the trail of feathered facts, relax, past the hacks, unburdened turn of repaired heart restart. The charming, shimmering, near silent ballet of resilient nurses and reliable aides in their ceremonious studied parade, their daily digitizing data collection, the caring colored pastel parade, inspection of each section they made, staging complete, the machines buzz and beep, recording the beats and bleeding ping tweets, the doctors move in concerted alerted poise, past the noisy track, capturing streaming life's facts, each coordinated step, the adepts with their array of acolytes lead the search to sustain the deblade and arrayed the nearly silent midnight sirens alight, offers the reassuring word, I heard it went well. They could tell because they know the machines repeat the data streaming beat back to my feet, return to complete bipedal leap and regain the ground beneath my slightly unsteady feet. O2 levels and pulse relayed amid the dripping splash, the ticking clocks clash, the teammates relent and release his unsteadied, studied gait to replace and return to burn back home, a healing chase to replace the pastel palace's pale face.
Incredible. It's
Really
waves coming, waves one after the other. It's almost like a tsunami, actually, of sounds, and at the same time, I mean, there are some parts that are really jazzy. They are syncopated, and other parts that are so light, like, for example, the feathers. It's very beautiful. You have everything inside there. And it's exactly what Mircea was saying before about the use of having several words, you know, putting together. It's strong, just that. Beautiful. Thank you.
Very powerful, and in the same time, very courageous, a very personal way and courageous way of reflecting over its one's existence. So on one hand, you have the very profound and very complex semantic level, intellectual level, and in the same and in the same time, you have the originality of way of working with those really great metaphors, originally built metaphors. Therefore, I'm very grateful to Rick that he accepted to read those.
That was for you, my brother.
I want that. It was also for me because I really loved it.
Well, of course. If it wasn't for you two wonderful souls, it's such a joy.
May I add something, because there is another poem, another hospital poem This one is the first time I heard it, but there is another hospital poem which I heard a couple of times 1 or 2 years ago at the beginning of the COVID pandemic, and it's a poem by Mircea, which when I think it was the first time I met him in a reading, and I was like that. I just opened my mouth. I was, wow. It was the poem in which you talk about the beds. You say the number of the bed, and then it's, I'm very bad at remembering. I don't remember the title, but it's a poem where you talk about either the rooms or the bed, the number of the rooms or the number of the beds, and then you describe, and you only describes what's happening, and you say this nurse in another life she could have been your wife or your lover. It's you describe what's happening inside the hospital, and you describe the world. You create a world which lives in itself, and I felt it almost like a sculpture, that poem. I don't know if I am in the position of requesting a poem. I don't know if I am in that position. I would request the poem from you, but if not, it's okay, don't worry. But I really loved that poem, Mircea, and it's so different from the way that Richard wrote his. It's also a poem where you use repetitions and put several little, every verse, every 2 verses is a little painting of someone or some things that happen in the hospital. But it's also completely different, because that of Richard is so personal. Yours is also personal because it was your own experience, but at the same time becomes universal. I don't know, because it's so, you try to put yourself out almost, even when you talk about yourself, and it becomes a description of humanity. There is the whole humanity sick with COVID in that hospital, in that poem.
Well, it's very emotional, the effect you sent on me by telling everything you told. And thank you very much for this. Only, it's 7:57, and that poem, it's quite long. So I don't know whether those 3 minutes would be enough to read it. I don't want Rick to think I am afraid to read something so, while after he read something so courageous concerning himself and the respective experience. But as he is the main producer, it is my duty to remark that we still have 3 minutes, and my poem is much longer.
Well, sir, if you have it handy, please read it at the behest of our lovely and charming guest, Lucilla.
Well, thank you very much. And please, I apologize from the beginning, from the eventual emotional, colorite within my recitation. It is called Timing 2. The doctor is treating me, Mrs. Katerina Vona, surgery number 31, pneumology. She's a tall, beautiful, blonde young lady, Miss Yarmila Brazdilova Krasna, surgery number 57, internal medicine. She doesn't say anything, Mr. Konrad Wegener, surgery number 118, ophthalmology, just keeps writing something, Miss Zuzana Dolejshi, surgery number 12, orthopedics. If I wasn't ill, Mr. Oldřich Pšenica, surgery number 40, cardiology. She might become my girlfriend, Mrs. Alice Skrovonská, surgery number 26, otorhinolaryngology. And what she's writing now, Mr. Anton Schneider, surgery number 5, neurology. could be Mrs. Beata Řehorikova, surgery number 19, oncology. Love letters to me, Mr. Jaroslav Černohorský, surgery number 63, dermatology. However, for now, it is probably just my diagnosis, Mrs. Annemarie Linhardt, surgery number 104, gastroenterology. Maybe when I recover, Mr. Radek Wittmann, surgery number 122, urology, recorded by nurse on duty, Yanni. The nurse is taking my blood pressure and pulse. Miss Ingrid Weinberger, room number 17, Department of Neurology. She's a tall, beautiful, blonde young lady. Miss Teresa Novakova, room number 8, accident and emergency. She doesn't speak loud. Mr. Pavel Vaida, room number 32, comfort single room, Department of Dermatology. Just whispering something, Mrs. Olenka Pavlichkova, room number 87, Department of Ophthalmology. If I wasn't paralyzed, Miss Anya Hanna Mizumska, room number 40, intensive care unity. She might become my wife. Miss Aloysia Kovarova, room number 118, internal medicine. And her whispering could be romantic love messages for me. Mr. Pavel Vaida, room number 61, Department of Hematology and Blood Transfusion. However, for now, they are probably Mr. Janos Kirai, main room, long-term care department. Only the results of my pressure and pulse measurement. Miss Judith Ontol, room number 55, comfort double room, Department of Diabetology. Maybe when I will be able to move again, recorded by sister on duty, Lucka, nurse care coordinator. The embalmer is washing and embalming my stiff and cold body. Mortuary chamber A, Prochaskova Alena, locker number 27, laryngeal cancer. She's a tall, beautiful blonde lady. Kozlovska Katerina, locker number 108, AIDS. She doesn't say, doesn't write, doesn't whisper anything. Shavardova Lucia, locker number 31, diabetes. She's just looking again and again. Royko Clement, locker number 95, heart attack. At the watch in the wall, Blanensky Petr, locker number 32, alcoholic coma. If I weren't dead, she could become my love. Mortuary chamber B, Nova Lavinie, locker number 44, tuberculosis. And she would keep looking at that clock because Winterberger Hannelore, locker number 137, kidney failure. She would be looking forward to meet me as soon as possible. Zografi Tadeas, locker number 91, multiple sclerosis. But now it is probably because Bila Graciela, locker number 114, natural death. She is looking forward to the end of the working day. Konvalinkova Teresa, locker number 109, natural death. And because she's fed up with washing and embalming corpses, Korzena Yana, locker number 26, natural death. Maybe in my next life, recorded by nurse on duty, Katka, hospital coordinator nurse. She'll go having a beer with the other two, more and more. Beautiful, tall, blonde ladies, new suspected, for celebrating together, still spreading. Another love story, a homeless, a wretch, some poet, and a new professional achievement, natural death, natural death, natural death. that was. I'm sorry for the atmosphere. I'm ending this recording, but thank you.
I think we can be joyous because it wasn't your natural death, but you brought us a beautiful, heartbreaking vision, and it was beautiful, powerful. Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for this opportunity. So
We
what about
actually need to wrap up, I'm afraid. You want to leave us with some concluding remarks, Mircea, and then our dear, lovely Lucilla?
I suggest that if you agree as well, Rick, the final end belongs to our dear and lovely guest, the great poet Lucilla, in the form of a final poem and of a way of saying goodbye in a gracious and charming and smiling way, the way she's only able to do it.
Thank
Bravo.
you. I am actually undecided between two poems. One is the last one that I wrote just 2 days ago, and it's about Lilith and my childhood by studying with the nuns, or one that is in the same line as the ones that you read, the two of you read, and it's about the hospital, my sister in the hospital. It's much more intimate than, you tell me which one you prefer that I read.
I would choose both myself.
So am I.
Okay, then I read them only in English, so it's easy. I shorten them. I start with my sister. Sister, it's bathed in pink, the asphalt before the hospital. A cloud collapsed by mistake. On a wall, an ugly imitation of Madonna Litta. I entered the room and your silence of bittery chicory. I turned my back to the nothingness that passes on TV. You are but a cipher of time, of this time, of the hollow mind, of bitterness for a closed hand that you chase in vain. And yet you are my flesh, my blood, my sister. I was your mom, I was your dad. And again, I embrace you like a sail in the wind. I surrender. Take the words I don't say, listen past the walls of silence. We are still humans. We are hands and mouths. We are still trees. This is the one for my sister. And then now, Lilith. Lilith. The nuns told us about a demon waiting in the mirror with a red lipstick in the curling hands. Oh, how delightful that perturbing smile in response to my restless fingers. The nuns recounted of a time with no beginning in which the supreme hypothesis was the only constant. With a tolerant gesture, answered the nuns to my objection that an everlasting system is a pale and distant anagogue. The space and time do begin and end. 30 minutes past noon, the nuns dispensed a ladleful of pasta with a bloodless sauce. Small, lifeless butterflies in ruinous mounds. Those, yes, a constant. Then the sisters clapped their hands, pleased at the empty pot. I instead felt in my belly emptiness, armored by a plaster of primal guilt. Oh, blessed be the first untamed rebel of the two moons, the daring goddess, the first and bright no. And how much thirst in the bite of the apple, how much hunger beyond the absolving prayers to repeat by heart. Absolve you cannot, who does not repent. Who knows if the blue and placid lake in the eyes of the Mother Superior concealed, buried in her flesh, a fertile doubt to plow.
so much sensitivity, so much femininity, actually in both of the poems, but from a completely different perspective. And I feel this feminine sensitivity, this feminine way, and I'm not talking about combative feminism, sorry. This is something else. It's just your very personal way of being a lady poet. And I'm deeply under the impression of those two last poems, and why shouldn't I admit also of your very personal way of reciting them. Thank you very much, Lucilla Trapazzo. Ladies and gentlemen, it was Poets of the East, number 5, second series, main producer here and moderator Richard Spisak, poet of the Three Rivers, information sculptor, and one of the most original voices of contemporary poetry. Main guest, Lucilla Trapazzo, a strong voice of the European and Italian and Swiss poetry, and one has to mention of the feminine poetry, a wonderful one. Thank you very much, Lucilla, for being here with us. Thank you very much for helping, or for waiting with us. Thank you for listening to poetry. Thank you for loving poetry. Lucilla Trapazzo, Rick Spisak, and Mircea Duta are saying goodbye to you and looking forward to the next episode of Poets of the East. All the best.
Thank you again. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.